Hello everyone. I need to make a YouTuber apology. You see, there was a miscommunication in my previous video. Sonic Colors on the Nintendo DS is not a designated 3DS game. It's not a designated 3DS game! I meant Sonic Colors on the Nintendo DS. And if you think that I meant anything else, I did not! So with that out of the way, let's talk about Sonic Generations on the PS Vita. When I think of a quality Sonic game, usually one of the first places my mind goes is Sonic Generations. Would I call it my all-time favorite Sonic game? Not necessarily, but with that said, it is easily the most recommendable Sonic game without qualifying statement. This is probably the highest quality that the series has to offer. A wonderful reward for those who stuck by the series for its at that time 20-year tenure, but all the same a great way for new players to get into the series and see the best of what it has to offer. The game released on the PC, the Xbox 360, and the PlayStation 3. But there is a version of this game that people rarely talk about. And I'm not saying you didn't know, and I'm not assuming you forgot, okay? It's just people rarely talk about this one. I gotta be so specific with you guys! So Sonic Generations on the 3DS, given that it's different hardware with different limitations, obviously a different game had to be produced by a different development team, DIMPS. The folks behind Sonic Rush Adventure, and Sonic Colors on the Nintendo DS. And I tell you what, I was very intrigued about this game because it has a different selection of levels from the console version, meaning that it explores a different part of Sonic's history to the version that we're more familiar with, the version that I'm more familiar with. Speak for yourselves, fuckers. So, is this little handheld companion to Sonic Generations worth playing? Is it necessary to complete the Sonic Generations experience? Oh, get your buttholes ready because let's go in. So you know the concept of Sonic Generations right now, levels from the past and two Sonics, both distinct in gameplay style. In that one is the modern Sonic, who's in 3D, and the other is the classic Sonic, who's in 2D, except Sonic Generations on the 3DS takes this concept and kind of trivializes it as the two Sonics are both in 2D gameplay this time. Which is already just a weird decision, because I'm pretty sure the Nintendo 3DS could handle 3D Sonic gameplay. I mean, it would go on to do that in Sonic Lost World review pending. And I mean, all of the visuals in this one are made up of three-dimensional models. So I'm kind of left scratching my head at the thought process behind this, because ultimately, you've got two 2D Sonics that now just kind of, one has boost and a homing attack, the other doesn't. Well, at least for the first handful of levels, because then Classic Sonic gets the homing attack. So again, like, I feel like if you're gonna have two different versions of Sonic, it makes sense to play up their differences. But this version of the game kind of just flies up in the face of that, and kind of just makes the two Sonics as alike as possible. So for the classic Sonic in his base form, you've actually got probably a much more faithful replication of his gameplay in the Nintendo 3DS version than what we got in the console version. The physics are much closer to the 16-bit games. The spin dash is a bit less overpowered, but the rolling actually does something now. Like, classic Sonic overall in this one is actually a little better than the console version. Until, of course, he gets the homing attack, which is not just an unlockable thing like it is in the console version. No, it is a mandatory part of gameplay which you will be receiving and cannot switch off. As for the modern Sonic, it's basically the modern Sonic gameplay from the console version, but adapted into the 2.5D space. And yes, you can draw up similarities to Sonic Rush here, but like, ultimately, no. There's no tricking system. We don't even play on the two screens this time. It's just the one screen, which in some ways I kind of prefer. And just, yeah, no, this is Sonic Generations, not Sonic Rush 4. Or Sonic Rush 3 even, because I don't even count colors. So the main difference is that modern Sonic can't spin dash, but instead he can boost by collecting rings. There is also like the slide move and crouching, but they're actually really situational in this one. So like the differences between the two Sonics are really minute this time around. So you know how Sonic Generations goes, each stage has two acts. Act 1 is classic Sonic, Act 2 is modern Sonic. But this one also has special stages, which are mandatory. And because of this, there's no special requirement to unlock the special stages, you just have to basically complete the stages, and then you get to go to the special stages. Which are kind of an adaptation of the Sonic Heroes special stages, except the Sonic that you play as through these is the modern Sonic, complete with boosting and jumping and such, and it's like, could we not have done this for, like, the main modern Sonic stages? Because they're in 3D, and he plays like the modern Sonic. I'm scratching my head at this. Like, just the overall thought process here is just confusing and baffling to me. But yeah, this is where the 3D gameplay is. Modern Sonic controls like a modern Sonic, so it's just, it's weird. Then we have the stage selection, which I think is dropping 2 off of the count of the console counterpart. You've got Green Hill, which makes sense as that's where Sonic begins and it goes through Sonic's history, so fair enough, use Green Hill again. And that's the only zone shared between the two versions. After that, you've got Casino Night Zone, which is personally more what I would have went for in the console version, but okay, like I'm glad to see it here. And then there's Mushroom Hill. I think there's a reason why they're sticking to just Sonic and Knuckles stages as opposed to anything from Sonic 3. You follow that up with Emerald Coast, which is an interesting choice. And then Radical Highway, which is really strange because that was a Shadow stage in the original. And then you follow that up with Water Palace, and then finally Tropical Resort. With Water Palace and Tropical Resort drawing more inspiration from their handheld well, Water Palace is only handheld, but like Tropical Resort takes a bit more inspiration from the handheld version of Tropical Resort than it does the core Wii version. And it gets me thinking, what a wasted opportunity. It's cool that we have different levels, but it kind of half feels like, especially in the latter part of the game, like a celebration of Sonic's handheld history, which leads me to wonder, why couldn't they have just made this a celebration of Sonic's handheld history? You could start off in Green Hill again, because the Game Gear version of Sonic 1 still has Green Hill, but then follow that up with a stage from Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, and then Sonic Triple Trouble. After that, have stages from the Sonic Advance games, then follow that up with Rush 1 and 2 and Colors. That way you've got a comprehensive history of Sonic on a handheld device, which makes sense because this game is on a handheld device. And as well as that, you'd meet the same amount of stages as in the console version. Like, there's no reason for the game to be as short as it is in this case. Like, it's really, really short. But then there's the level design within those stages, and this is also just baffling to me. For the first acts of the first 3 stages in this game, Green Hill, Chemical Blood, not Chemical Blood, Casino Night, and Mushroom Hill, the stage layouts are exact replicas of their 16-bit counterparts. In one hand, it's cool to see these recreated in 2.5D visuals, but at the same time, you're basically getting nothing new here. Classic Sonic is running through these stages as he did before, and it's just that given a new coat of paint, with no new twists like what we saw in the console version. Then, of course, after that, we're going into more 3D games, so they had to make completely new level layouts. And you can tell a huge difference between the originals and the new ones made for this game, because holy fucking balls, the level design in this is pretty awful. Radical Highway definitely typifies this. Long stretches of absolutely fuck all and a ton of bottomless pits. It's definitely more jarring for the classic Sonic than it is for the modern Sonic. Modern Sonic is more able to kind of fly over these things and make quick work of it, but the classic Sonic is a bit more platform-centric, and I just don't think Dimps does very well with platforming levels in Sonic games. With the weird exception of Sonic Rush Adventure. What a baffling developer they are. So then, like the console version, there's also rival battles and boss battles. The rival battles this time around are not boss fights as such, so much as they are races. And this consists of Metal Sonic, Shadow, and Silver, just like in the console versions, except now they're no longer in their original locations. They're in basically a stage from this game. So you race against Metal Sonic in Casino Night, okay, and then you race against Shadow in Radical Highway, which makes the most sense, I guess. And then you race against Silver in Tropical Resort? right, okay. And I feel like, again, they could have made more use of Sonic's handheld history. Sure, have the first race be against Metal Sonic, or better yet, what about Fang the Sniper? And then for the second rival race thing, have Emerl. And then for the third one, have Blaze. That just makes so much more sense. Also, Blaze is nowhere to be found in this game. How can you call it Sonic Rush 4? How can you do that, you fickle bunch? And then there's the main boss fights, where, okay, so the first one is the big arms from Sonic the Hedgehog 3. The second one is the Bio Lizard, which, again, really strange because that's a shadow boss fight. And then there's Egg Emperor. And then the final boss is, of course, the Time Eater. But I gotta say this, the Time Eater boss fight in this one is more well-structured than it is in the console version. I'll give Sonic Generations 3DS that, is that the Time Eater boss fight is the better one. In terms of the story, it's the same as it is on consoles, except this time you're not rescuing Sonic's friends. It's a bit more simple than that. And there's no use of the cutscenes from the console version in this one like we had with, say, Sonic Colors. Instead, we've got exclusively text box cutscenes. Except this time they've got 3D models, as opposed to these individual character renders, which I must admit they do look nice. But the way this story is told is basic as all get out. I'll say this, in terms of presentation, the game looks really good. They took really good advantage of moving over to the 3DS for this one, as the game does look a lot better than any of the Rush series or Sonic Colors on the DS. It's all fully 2.5D visuals, and it just looks great. Heck, even with the 3D feature, which I'm not a big fan of on the Nintendo 3DS, but in this case the game does look really nice with the 3D on. All of the stages are really well realized, the character models look good. This is a good looking 3DS game. And then there's the music, where I think this game was a Rush job, and I think the same applies to the music. The soundtrack here isn't bad or anything, but it's very half-assed. So in the original, on the consoles, like, classic Sonic had more of an R&B dance vibe to his music, where the modern Sonic had more the kind of typical Jun Sanui rock music. In this one, they kind of do that with Green Hill Zone and Casino Night Zone. Then when you get to Mushroom Hill, they're literally the same, except the modern one just has a little bit of guitar over it. Then with Emerald Coast, they get two separate tracks altogether. Radical Highway's really weird because classic Sonic's version is very much the rock version, whereas modern Sonic's version is more of a dubstep kind of a thing, and it doesn't sound very good. I cannot name a single difference between the two versions of Back to Back. And classic Tropical Resort is just a reuse of the original Tropical Resort music, whereas the modern one is actually really good. I just don't know what the soundtrack was really going for this time around. Again, I do not understand the thought process behind this game. But I will say this, Cash steal the show with their rendition of Big Arm. It's amazing. So it's gotta be said, while I appreciate that Sonic Generations on 3DS tries to do something different to its console counterpart, it doesn't really have any outright vision. It's so strange how many opportunities there were to do something cohesive, but what we got instead was something that feels kind of thoughtless. And I just can't figure out what they're overall going for with this one, and overall it's just a very underwhelming game. If you do count it as Sonic Rush 4, it's easily the weakest of the Sonic Rush series. I don't count it as a Sonic Rush 4, but for those of you that do, this is, in my opinion, the weakest one. You know what, let's do a ranking. So, In fourth place is Sonic Generations 3DS. In third place is Sonic Rush. In second place is Sonic Colors. And in first place is Sonic Rush Adventure. What a great game Sonic Rush Adventure is. So yeah, there you go. But what do you guys think? Comment below and discuss. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below are links to different social media feeds, as well as my Patreon, for if you just want to shower me in your hard-earned cash, and like, I'm not gonna lie, that would make you an extremely epic person like these folks in the $10 tier. That is Marcus Ward, Sirius the Skeptic, Biotinarts, and Mr. SP. But as for the rest of you, thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.